What's up, folks? Welcome to Hands Hardware. This is one of my first episodes that I'm posting, so I'm trying to make it good. This episode is all about OBS. I've kind of become a pro on this OBS program here, right? Because I've used it now for my combat fighting channel, which is Muay Thai, boxing, live streaming around the world. I've used it again, the same setup, or a similar setup, I'd say, for my wife's channel, the best family show ever. I've used it for my gaming channel, which isn't really doing that well, but it's getting there. And now I'm doing it for this channel. And the reason why I really got to do it for this channel now is because I always wanted to start this hardware channel, but other things always get in the way, like my wife's channel, my combat channel, my work, my kids, things like that. So right now I have time, and I'm flying away to Mexico in 2 days. I'm gonna bring a lot of camera gear with me, do some testing, things like that. So I figured it's a good time to start this hardware channel that I always wanted to start. Last year in November, I did my first episode. I called it Hands Hardware. I was kind of laying on the beach and I thought, yes, I have to do this because it's something I always want to do, right? So you guys know I have a ton of equipment that I want to show you. For example, let me just walk there and show you one, okay? And while I do that, let me just enlarge this screen here. Behind me is OBS, okay? We're going to dive into that, but let me just show you a couple of things first. This is the green screen that we're dealing with. I have this guy here that I use for my fights. It may benefit you. It's a Hollyland 4K wireless transmitter. I have OBS plugged into a Camlink 4K through a USB cable. But this is something I'm going to show you guys later. It's a 4K transmitter. In theory, it does up to 450 feet. In practice, I've only done up to like 200, but it's really high quality. But yeah, I'm going to show you guys some examples of that. I have a bunch of different wireless mics that I use for my recordings. So I would love to do a comparison of that too, because OBS lets you do a lot of switching. I have a bunch of different types of USB input cards that I want to show you guys the results for. Off the bat, since it's my first episode, I'll just spew some stuff. This is the Camlink 4K, one of the most expensive ones. It does a great job, okay, it does. But this one is the one I found, a magic one. It's the no-name brand. Yeah, like it's called Video Capture, okay? It's basically a USB capture card, USB-C, which comes with an adapter, which you can plug into a regular USB port. And I've tried both and it works well. This one here is $35 Canadian, approximately, right? And it does only up to 1080p 60, no 4K. But if you needed 4K, you would need this Camlink 4K. And another thing about the 4K thing I just learned is this Camlink has to be plugged directly into your USB port. Do not put it through a hub, otherwise the 4K option won't show up. It took me about 20 minutes to figure that out. But anyways, I'm sidetracking here, okay? Let's go back to OBS. So let me resize my screen. So, if you stumbled upon this video, please grab a coffee, okay? I pretty much went all over the web, and it was really hard to find an OBS video that had everything in one video that made me understand everything. But by the end, you're going to know everything about OBS, how to use it, and if you have any questions, you can always ask me in the comments, right? But the idea is that this video is going to be a complete guide. So don't expect it to be 5 minutes. It will give you all the answers you need, okay? So let's start with this. Right here, I am using OBS literally to capture the screen. I want to show you a couple of things in the panel, okay? My face is in the middle. And the reason why it's in the middle is because I'm trying to block this weird effect that happens when you record the screen. Here. So, first things first, let's go over a couple of things. There's a menu up here. Easy stuff. File, edit, view, dock, scene collection, tools, help. We'll go through this, okay? View allows you to dock things and undock things, like status bar. I usually just keep it on default, so let's keep it as that. You have scenes here and sources. So you can have what you see this here. The whole setup that I'm doing is a scene, okay? And I have 3 sources. I have my display capture, which is, if you look at it, I'm directing to capture this right here, okay, with automatic. You can do a few different styles, but basically automatic's fine. But if you want to really be specific, you can Windows 10 and up. You can force SDR, which I never really do, but you could, okay? So if you look here, that is the Camlink 4K right here, okay? I have a bunch of things plugged in. This is my webcam, much more garbage. This is my SLR, okay? That's a big difference, isn't it? I have it set to default, right? But if you look at it, you can go custom. You can choose your resolution, but this one, for some reason, if I don't go default, it's not showing the 4K. I don't know why, but this is how it works. Everything's default, default, default. Maybe color range, I'll go full. See what makes a difference. Okay, well here's full, and here's limited. I don't know what the difference is, but let's go with full, okay? Why not? I think full looks worse. Seriously. Let me see, does full look worse or not? So here we go. I'm gonna resize it to full screen, right? You can resize your items to full screen. No, actually, let's see. Okay, let's look at it, right? Because I'm curious. Here's the Camlink 4K properties. That wasn't what I was doing. Camlink 4K. Here it is. This is full, and this is limited. I'm looking at my hair here. Looking at my hair, my wrinkles, my muscles. I'm just joking. Seriously, I'm looking carefully, trying to see if there's any difference here. Okay, switching it back to full. I can't tell which one looks better. I'm thinking full looks better. Excuse me. I think full looks better. There's more contrast in this one though. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go default. And whatever default is default, because I don't know which one it is, to be honest. Okay, my instinct tells me to go with full, okay? How about we just go with full? Since the option's there. Like, why go limited when full is there? Alright, whatever. Full it is. Let's go. Okay. Now that I've explained sources to you right here, right? 3 sources. We're gonna replicate this scene now, okay? That I'm doing here. Just to let you know, I've installed something called ATM. I think that's how you pronounce it, at least. I'll spell it if I installed it. I'll put a link here, and if I said it wrong, I'll be wrong. But I think it's ATM. It allows you to have a vertical section. This is an add-on, okay? This doesn't exist with the regular OBS. This is definitely an add-on, okay? It's a plugin, but it's great because it allows you to stream vertical without any setup and horizontal with any setup, or both at the same time, which is the key. So for example, you can do one vertical live on Instagram or YouTube, and the other horizontal one you can do somewhere else like YouTube or Twitch, which is a common one. You can have separate settings on each side. Separate encoders can be used for each side. So for example, Twitch only lets you use X264 or H264, which is an older codec. You can use this horizontal section here to do this section here, right here, to do Twitch with the old encoder, and you can set the vertical encoder, your stream for the vertical right here, the settings, to a different encoder, which is cool, very cool. All right, so let's demonstrate how to create a scene with this vertical panel here. That way you can get an idea. Since I've already done this one, this vertical panel is completely empty. All I have is a main scene. So I'm gonna go plus. I can even scene, okay? I can delete the scene right here in the bottom, main scene. If I wanted to, remove. Yep, let's start with nothing. So I'm gonna go plus, right? It says give scene name, main vertical scene, okay? Now, here are the vertical sources on this side. I'm gonna make it even like this, right? One thing to note, sources, like I said earlier, are things like mics, windows, images, sound files, any item on the screen that is a separate entity, like a USB mic, a camera, is a source, okay? And when you push plus sources, here are all the options, okay? Down to input capture, output capture, beam, receiver, and relay. So beam is cool, okay? If you're looking to wirelessly transmit a video feed to your computer versus having a capture card capture it. So for example, I was able to do a 3-player split screen setup with my sons by them transferring their game screen to me wirelessly, not wirelessly, through cable, sorry, Ethernet, to my computer without any capture card and fuss. It was really smooth actually. It does take a lot of bandwidth at like 60 to 70% quality of the stream, which is this. I'm talking about beam relay here. It was about 200 megabits per computer. I have a gigabit connection, and the computers were fine, and we played fine. So that's beam relay, beam receiver. Okay, you can do a browser, like a browser window. You can put like a link, right? But I don't need that right now, so I'm gonna delete that. I'm trying to duplicate the top for you, okay? So going down, just keep going down. Display capture, okay? You can go new, and here's the 2 different monitors I got. This one or that one, right? 2 monitors. I'm gonna delete this one because I didn't want to add that. So you can delete and add all you want. You can rename sources. I'm trying to remove it. Did I click it right? Remove. Yep. So now I'm gonna go plus display capture, right? This is literally the one that's on this side, which is this one, highlighted in red. Now it's here, right? But the difference is, I'm gonna move this over. There's more room. Actually, it makes no difference. The vertical looks that big. Okay, so either way, I'll keep it like that, okay? Now you have a horizontal image on your vertical screen. So you have to resize it. I'm gonna resize it, and resize it. You can fit 3 desktops horizontally on a vertical feed, which is cool. So what I meant earlier by the beam relay with my kids, I put 1 desktop here, 1 desktop here, and 1 desktop here. And we played beautifully. Space Marines 2, a very demanding game, so it works, okay? Now that's a display capture. I'm gonna go plus again. And I'm gonna go all the way down. Okay, let's just keep going, okay? There's game capture. Game capture allows you to capture any full screen or specific windows. So if you're playing Street Fighter 6 like me, you would choose Street Fighter 6.exe. And it would capture that specifically. Or there's an option that says capture full screen, and that'll capture any full screen app. So if you were to play a lot of games, you can specify full screen because you usually play full screen. So whatever full screens, it shows on OBS. That's tough if you don't have 2 screens because you're always in doubt of what's going to happen, or, you know. But if you have 2 screens, it won't matter because the moment you full screen one, it'll show on your preview window. I'm just saying, if you have one window and when you alt tab, you're like, is it recording or not, right? This kind of happens to me a lot, which is why I like to specify which exe file. Now we're going to keep going. Delete the game capture. That was just a demonstration. You can put an image, like a picture file, you know, show up on your like you can do, for example, I do a lot of videos, so you can stick like here. This is Yotenklai, for example. Boom, you can put a picture here, right? The big image, you resize it in like that, right? You can add images if you want. Same with movies, same method. Now media source, same things. A movie scene. This is just a scene. Text, you can add text, for example, like that. Okay, fine. That was a bad example. I don't know why I did that. Okay, let's go with text. Give you a better example. hello world. There. You can go like this. You can resize it. You can select the font. It's pretty good, actually. Choose a size. Boom. And when you're done, you can resize it. So I've used it for example, be right back. I've used it for before a boxing live stream, like Muay Thai or boxing stream. I would put a thing saying, I would put the stream up ahead of time, and I would say fights start at 7 p.m. so people know that this is the link. It's up, and they'll come back at 7 p.m. Or you can use it for like a username, whatever you want. But that's how you put a text on the screen. Text GDI. Now plus again, going down. Finally, window, video capture device. So earlier I had a bunch of different ones, right? So here's my webcam, right here. That's my wireless speaker up there. My webcam is pointed like directly in a stupid spot up on the top. Doesn't make sense. So if you want more flexibility, you want a separate camera, okay? Now, I created that new source, which is called video capture device. I'm gonna rename this to webcam. And that's this right click rename, okay? Boom, webcam. Now, I'm gonna have two sources. If you go video capture device, you're gonna have two sources, Camlink 4K and webcam. I named this Camlink 4K. So now I'm gonna add the Camlink 4K. All right, resize that in and stick it right there. Okay, boom. So look, 3 windows, boom, boom, boom is what it fits, which is really cool. Okay. Now next thing I'm gonna do is show you this. Behind me is a green screen. All right. So let's make this guy big. This guy is the Camlink 4K. Okay, look at it. It's not perfectly lit, but it's pretty good. I'm pretty close to the wall, which is not ideal. So you see some shadows, right? But it's not bad. And to give you an example, here is my webcam, and here is the other one. So let's see if there's any difference in performance. What we're gonna do now is apply a filter to the video capture device, okay? I'm gonna take my screen and fill that preview window because this is how it should look. Like this, okay? And watch what I'm gonna do. We're gonna modify the one in the main panel right here first, okay? So we're gonna double click, we're gonna right click on the Camlink 4K, we're gonna choose filters. When I say filters, I mean just effects. I don't know why they call it filters. I guess it makes sense, but look at it. And on the top, you see audio, video filters. You can do a beam audio, so you can make this into like an audio sender or receiver, or video only sending filter. I haven't used it like that before, but you could. You put an equalizer, you can put plugins, noise suppression. There's a lot of things you can put here for the audio portion of it. But under effects, the most common one you're going to use is chroma key. So the wall behind me, although it's not lit that well, it is a uniform green, painted with chroma key paint. I don't know if it makes a difference that much. I don't think it does, but I just used it for fun to see what would happen. It costs more money, like 4 times the price. But look, the moment you click on this right here, the effect of chroma key, call it chroma key, sure, the background disappears. You can see that there's some imperfection on the bottom here because I usually have a lamp on the bottom, but the bulb blew and I don't have a new bulb. But either way, it's a good thing to show because look, here are the default values, okay? I hope you guys see that. You guys see that? Default values. Hope I'm not blocking it with this guy. Put this guy away. Okay, so hopefully you guys see this button right here. Default values, okay? So if you look here, there's some gray. That's not good. The more you push it, the more that will go away. All right. Your upper limit is going to vary between setups, but in this setup, upper limit is 440. I'm pretty confident on that one because let's check it out. Oh, there's also spill reduction. So for example, if you're really close to the screen like me right now, even closer, you see the edge become green. Watch this. It can, well, degreen a little bit. Too much makes you black and white basically and look weird like a clown like this. But you kind of want yourself to look normal, like this. So don't push it too hard, okay? Let's go back to the defaults here. I want to go 420. That's pretty good. Maybe 425. 425. Yep, I think that's good enough for me for the purpose of this demonstration. So now, check it out. What do you see? You see me green screened out, okay? Now, I just resized myself. How does that look? I hate how there's that effect in the back, right? But based on the contours of the arm, nothing is transparent on my body. All right? This is what happens when you push things too far. This, I'm spending a lot of time on this because this is the part that took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to learn. And no one is explaining this online. So I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to add something of value that's going to help you. And this will help you, believe me. Watch this. If you push it too far, earlier I had it at 440. Let's see what happens. Am I invisible yet? I'm still good. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. It's starting to fade away. See? Now that's starting. My hair's starting to be. My head's kind of I'm kind of invisible, right? I'm gonna push it even further to give you an example of what different settings are. Whoops, wrong one. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Camlink 4K filters, chroma key. I'm gonna push it further just for demonstration purposes. Ho, look at that guy. So now I'm really invisible. You see that? Holy, that doesn't look cool at all. But yeah, to give you this is to push the example of what happens when you push it too far. Okay, this is an extreme. You would never want to do this. I think maybe unless it's a horror movie. This is actually pretty scary. Picture like clown makeup with this. Holy. But anyways, let's put it back to 425, which was a very good rate, I thought. You can do smooth. Okay, this one too. Smoothness is the edge. It controls like the invisibility. These three in tandem, these two in tandem will dictate what your settings would be, right? You want it to be as low as possible. You want these two values to be as low as possible without messing up anything. But you'll find that the default values are pretty good, right? 80 is good here. That's good there too. You can do 70 if you really want it to be sharp, but you see like a white line around me develop. See, when you put it to 70, you see a white line around me. But 80 is the default value. Boom. I always find 80 is a good value for whatever reason. 420 is usually pretty good, right? My hair is not see-through. See? My hair is spiky on one side kind of, and it's picking that up really good. Like that's actually really good, considering it's like here, and we're doing this live. Like not processing in Premiere Pro, which takes 10 hours. This is intended for like a live kind of situation, right? Anyone can take a green screen file, go in Premiere, and edit the file, okay? That's easy. I'm talking about using OBS, live environment, for example, game streaming, boxing, which is what I do, Muay Thai, which is what I stream, MMA, which is what I stream on the Combat Fighting channel, right? So that's what I'm trying to show you. So let's go at 425, okay? Now, unfortunately, I have to show you the... Actually, let's do that. So, we can do this. Plus, sorry, go back up on the top, the main sources, plus, media source, okay? I downloaded something that's going to be really annoying. I didn't think it would be that annoying, but let's go background. I'm trying to get a video here in the back playing. This is the part that you have to pay attention with. When you add a media file, here, there's loop, right? When you click loop, the video will loop. If it's like a logo spinning, you want it to loop, okay? There's restart playback when source becomes active. So when you hide this or disable it and play it, it restarts back from the beginning. If you don't click this, when you hide it, it'll keep playing, and when you unhide it, it'll play where it was playing from, if it makes sense. Hardware decoding when available, you want to do that. And this is the part that's cool. You can adjust the speed and the opacity, I believe. Well, opacity you do it through a filter, but you can adjust the speed. So if you want to play something in slow motion, you can do that. So let's play with that right now. Boom. This is a big file. Let's go in. Okay, so that's the file we're dealing with here. Very clear. I'm going to take it down a notch. So I have to show you what I did here, which is hard. How can I show you this? Okay, so here we go. We have this, okay? Wrong one. I'm trying to select the background. Here, background. See this? If you use Photoshop, this would make sense, but there's layers to this, okay? Under the sources, the mic being on top, the camera, which is me, on top of everything, because the mic isn't a layer, it's like a sound layer. So the first image video slash layer is the camera. So I'll be on top of everything. Underneath me is this background right here, which is why when I resize the background over me, I am over the background. The background is behind me. And the reason why when I make this smaller like this, you start seeing the OBS screen is because the OBS screen is third down the list, which is display capture. I hope that makes sense, okay? So what I was trying to show you was this part here. This is the most important part. One of the reasons why I'm using OBS is likely because of this green screen stuff, okay? So based on how my green screen is lit, let me show you again. I'm going to right click on this guy, filters, chroma key, and hide, okay? This is how my green screen looks. Right? I am using the Camlink 4K at the highest setting. So maybe that's something to do with it because I'm using full color, okay? Now I'm going to turn on the filter again and show you the background, okay? Boom. Take the background, enlarge it behind me, and if I move around, I would say this is a very good key. The reason why I'm experimenting, well, not the reason, but like, I originally started this because on my Combat Fighting channel, I'm going to start doing interviews online with people because driving to everyone's gyms is starting to get really, really costly and time consuming. So I want to start a thing where I'm like kind of wearing a suit and just calling around the fighters that I know and the gyms that I know around the world and just doing updates on their life, their fights, how they're feeling and things like that. But yeah, this looks amazing, doesn't it? Like, come on. This is like, I'm moving. Okay. I'm going to do a moving test, okay? See that? Do I look like it? See that? Okay. 4K, 30 frames a second, okay? I'm going to go to my camera now and move it to 120 shutter. Right now I have it at 60 shutter, 30 frames, okay? If you know what that means, you're going to want to know this. Now I'm going to change the shutter to 120. Double the shutter rate to see if it affects the green screen or not. If I move it in my hands. So here's the movement of me. This is 60 frames. I'm sorry. This is 30 frames a second. Right? With 60 shutter using the inverse. 180 inverse rule. Okay? Now I'm going to change it to double the shutter, which is 125. Or 120. 125. I wonder if my hands will look better or not. ISO is 800, so I gotta modify things. So I will double the ISO. There you go. So now it's at 1600 ISO. Okay, for those of you that don't know what I just did, didn't understand what I said, basically, the camera has a shutter, which is how often per second it takes images, okay? That makes sense. Earlier, I had it at 60 shutter and 30 frames a second, meaning every 60 seconds, 30 frames would be captured. So every single, yeah, you can do the math there, okay? I don't want to go too deep into that, but basically, I've increased it. By increasing it, you can freeze motion more. So some people say that it's better for green screens because the motion is less blurry and it's more solid, right? It's more sharp, you can say, because you're using a higher shutter, which reduces blur. So now I move my hands again. Oh, yes, earlier it was at ISO 800, but now I'm at ISO 1600, no, 1600. So I essentially had to up the ISO. If your camera has an ISO problem, that could also be something that can affect your decision. Here we go. Moving my hands again. I can't tell which one looks better. I kind of feel this one is sharper, but it's definitely more robotic and stroby, right? See my hands? It's kind of like strobing, right? Now I'm gonna switch back to 60, which is what I prefer because it doesn't look so like, I don't know, jumpy. Okay, look, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, whatever. I'm just trying to show some motion to compare with. Okay, here we go. Back to 60 shutter, which is half. Doing 60 shutter basically reduces the light intake by half. So you have to up the ISO by double. But now that I've reduced the shutter by half, I can reduce the ISO by half. If that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. You don't really need to know. But I just want to give that explanation for people that are hardcore techies, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. And hopefully that demonstrates the right settings, right? Again, I prefer this. Okay? I do. Wax on, wax off, see? Compare. Wax on, wax off. I prefer this. This has a little bit of blur. It doesn't look so robotic. It looks kind of smooth, you know? Instead of a jumpy motion. On the camera, we're talking 30 frames per second, 4K, 60 shutter. That's the motion, okay? Boom, 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 boom. Look how smooth it is. Oh my god. It's so smooth. It's so good looking. I can make a movie with this. Anyways, so going back to the background, going back to the tutorial, the background, right? Right click, properties. I said you can slow it down. So let's slow it down to 50. Okay, 50. There you go. Simple as that. It slows down if you want to, okay? But obviously, if you slow it down, you want a higher frame rate video. Otherwise, that will happen. This is filmed in 30 frames, so slowing it down doesn't work for this kind of thing. It just makes it super choppy. But yes, that's the background. So let's hide that background now. Get rid of it. See this eyeball here? Anytime you hit that eyeball, it's a hide. So let me make my face smaller now. Move the background here, okay? There's eyeballs. When you push it, it hides things, including my face. Okay? If it's a mic, see this mic? It's moving. See how it's moving? It's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. Do you hear me? 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 Yeah, do you hear me? That's what I meant. Now, display capture, okay? So basically, I've kind of run through the whole thing with you. Now, if you're still hanging in there, this is where it gets more fun, okay? I have to show you the interface, otherwise it won't make any sense later. Things that I do and show you. Here, scene transitions. So if you have more than one scene, okay? Speaking of scenes, okay, I'm going to duplicate this guy right here. Duplicate this main to main copy, okay? You can make it backup or you make a copy and modify stuff. For example, this guy. I'm going to make this a completely different scene, okay? But when I switch, see how it kind of like fades in and out together like this? Right? This is because of this setting right here. Scene transition. You can do cut. Cut is like this. I use cut for my fights because when you switch angles from like this red corner, blue corner, neutral corner, you want to be switching quick because like boxing's quick. So like if you're switching for a punch, you want to switch right away. But for everything else, you want it to be a pleasant switch like this. Maybe fade it even longer if you want. Fade it to 500 milliseconds. You can set the fade time, right? I like 300, the default. Okay, and that applies to both vertical and horizontal. Here, you've been looking at it the whole time. There's an audio mixer. If you think the mic is too loud, you can make it a bit lower, like this, so that if you're in an environment where like they're playing football, let's just say, or basketball, and your mic is right beside the audience, and they're yelling into it, you can go, okay, bro, calm down, like this, and then adjust it to your liking. So when I do my live streams, I do that kind of thing for, put on a headset, basically, and then I monitor the sound, which I'll show you now how to do. I monitor the sound, and then I make sure it sounds good. I try my best to, at least. Okay, background hide. Okay, so I hit the background now. Let's talk about audio, okay? So here, you can talk audio, make it louder or quieter. I do this a lot for my fights that I record, because if you, for example, are sitting beside an audience that's yelling, you may want to lower that mic so it doesn't blow things out. Or I don't know if your kids are yelling really loud, because my daughter Ella goes from like quiet to when she's like playing games. So I gotta go quiet down so it doesn't peak so high like that, right? You can mute them here too, if you want. You can mute, whatever you want. You can right click, advanced audio properties is what you want to see. So I'm gonna move this over, try to show it good. You have each one of them can be active. You can assign what tracks are what. So I have 3 tracks set up. I have a Camlink 4K, that's track 1. My mic is track 2. Desktop audio is track 3. When you record the video, which is this video, there'll be 3 separate tracks that are recorded in MP3 format. I've set that to 256 kilobits per second. One thing you want to do, optionally, is monitor the audio. So you would need like a headset for this. I do this for my fights a lot. You put the headset on, and then you stream your thing. You set Windows to your headphones, which I don't have plugged in right now. You're gonna need to, you don't want that anyways, because you wouldn't hear what's happening. But if I set this to monitoring off, to monitor and output, it will now it's going to output whatever is going into the mic to the speakers. So if you had your speakers set up to your headphones, you wouldn't get that echo, because everything that you say in your mic is going to get monitored into your ears. Okay, so let's go back into it. A couple of more things you can do here. You can offset the sync of the audio. So for example, I showed you earlier there's a Hollyland Mars 4K wireless transmitter that I have. Although that's the best one, there's still a 0.06 delay. So for this camera, which is plugged in physically, it might have only like a 10 millisecond delay, really small, right? But if there was any syncing problems, you would deal with it here by offsetting the delay or advancement. Okay, just so you know, that's available. Here on this side, you have scene transitions. So I made a copy of this here, right? And if you switch between the scenes, it fades. I like to do cuts between my fights like this. Okay, but you can make it fade to make it look cooler. Okay, so transitions are available. Now let's look at settings. In settings, and mind you, there's 2 different settings. Remember I told you earlier that you can stream the main and the vertical. Get a drink of water. Check this out. Don't wear green when you're green screening, otherwise it becomes invisible. Like that. Okay, I'm gonna put myself here. Okay, I'm gonna go settings. Boom. Okay. Let's go here. So you have general, you have appearance, stream, output. These general options don't matter that much. Appearance is just appearance, stream is different. Now you have custom, which is where you can put your own server, your own stream key, and authentication, which is username and password. So for my fights that I do, like I stream for WKA, I stream for other boxing events. WKA is World Karate and Kickboxing Association. I've done some, I've done a bunch of stuff, right? So basically, they'll always give you a server and a stream key and maybe authentication. You're either going to be using a RTMPS or SRT link, usually. If you choose Twitch, you're gonna get a warning if you're not using if you're using one of the newer encoding methods like HEVC or AV1, which is what I'm using now, because Twitch doesn't support anything but except H.264. Much older these days, but just know that Twitch doesn't support anything newer. So if you're gonna set it to that, you're gonna get limited options showing up in the options for encoding. YouTube supports everything, so let's go choose YouTube. You can choose stream key. You can connect your account, which I'm not going to do. Minimize. You can connect your account. You can ignore stream settings, but there's maximums and minimums they want. You can get stream key. It'll pop up your YouTube channel and where to get it. So let's head to output, okay? This is where the beefy stuff is. You got streaming. All these are going to be grayed out when you're recording, so I can't change them. So right now, streaming, you can choose a audio track. What's different between my recording and streaming is that for streaming, you can choose one audio track only. You can't choose 3 and save them separately. Now, encoder settings. If you look up here, NVIDIA NVENC, HEVC, okay? That is basically the NVIDIA encoder. I wish I can show you. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do an offline one where I do a screen capture instead and show you guys this stuff here. Because when you click on this, because I'm using an Intel setup 13900H without any microcode issues, it gives you Intel quick sync options, and I also have NVIDIA NVENC options because it's NVIDIA's encoder. Now, bitrate, I've always been told to use CBR, so I do. For HEVC, I chose 5,000 kilobits per second. The max YouTube recommends and allows you to do really is 6800, so 5,000 is pretty good unless you have complex scenes. You can set the presence, slower the higher quality. It even says like low, lowest, low, medium, good, better, better, better. I usually put it at good quality. Doesn't tax the system too much. There's the GPU, keep it at 0. Max frames, max B frames 2. If you have an older video card, it's 0 because you're not going to support it. If you have a 2000 series NVIDIA and up, it supports it. So this is the streaming section, recording section. Here I have standard. I have the recording path. There's recording formats you can choose. There's a bunch of different ones: MKV, MP4, AVI, MOV. Just click on it. Encoder. So earlier on this one, streaming, you see, it's using this one, NVIDIA NVENC HEVC, because this video card that I'm using is a 4060 NVIDIA GeForce card. It has the new NVIDIA NVENC AV1 encoding support. So I'm trying that right now. I've set it to 40,000 kilobits per second offline recording. I've set it to the second best quality setting. The lower you go, the more placebo it is. I've set it to 2 max B frames. Basically, you get higher quality video for your bitrate. Psycho visual tuning is an NVIDIA CUDA thing, I think. But yeah, audio. Let's check it out. 1, 2, 3 tracks, like I said earlier, right? I've set the track to 256 kilobits per second, MP3. I think that's enough. You can set it to higher, 320. I think it's the max. But 256 is pretty good to me. You can do a replay buffer, because if you're doing fights, hit the replay button, which is right here, right? And play back stuff right away. Or like, say if you do a good shoot or a good kill in a video game, you can replay it right away, okay? Audio, here are the audio settings. You can see that I have my mic set to this, which is a USB. Everything else is disabled. This is kind of hotkeys for certain settings you can do, right? Enable push to mute hotkeys, so I can set hotkeys, yeah, basically to mute these things. Let's see how you do it. Enable. I don't want to mess with this too much, but basically you can do that, okay? Here's the video settings. I'm recording this at 1080p 60 frames per second. So the idea for this video is not to show you like the quality of all these things. That's for another video down the road. This is to show you how to use OBS, okay? And most people would want to stream 1080p 60. I think streaming 4K is a bit more harder, but if I would say start with 1080p 60 first as your target. Here's hotkeys. You can set it to whatever you want. So for example, Control Shift 1, Control Shift 2, and then afterwards you can have, when you pushed Control Shift 1 or 2, or backspace, or whatever you want to set, undo, undo. You can have shortcuts, okay? I use that a lot for switching. I'll set the scenes for different shortcuts, so when I push 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll switch to like different angles when I do my sports streaming. And yes, so in a nutshell, that's it. Now, bear with me. Let's go to the vertical section right here. It's slightly different, okay? It's just a little bit different. Bear with me. There's a settings button. It has a separate streaming settings, right? That you can do. Same drop downs. Mainly YouTube is here. Key, you can make it use the main settings and share it with the other settings we just did, or make it have independent settings, which I like independent settings. And here is where I can show you stuff because it doesn't blank things out. It's a separate module on this thing, right? Encoder, look, you have SVT AV1. This is using your CPU to do AV1. Very intensive, but super high quality. Very intensive though. You gotta have a really good CPU. I'm talking like a really good CPU. If you're asking me, is my CPU good enough? I'm gonna say, if you're asking me, I'm gonna say it's no, because you gotta have a really good CPU. That's what I'm trying to tell you. NVIDIA NVENC 264, HEVC, and AV1. I'm doing this through hardware, so everything's alleviated. It doesn't use my CPU much. You can see in OBS down here, it's saying it's using 0.2% CPU. QuickSync here is the Intel GPU. So it only supports H.264 and HEVC. Only the new NVIDIA 4000 series cards support it. Lucky me, I got one. So I'm setting this thing to 5000 for vertical streams, which I find is good quality. And the rest is all the same, right? It's just a separate thing for there. Recording, you can set offline recording path for the vertical. And in general, it's just setting your resolution. It's already set to vertical by default, so you don't have to do anything. Audio bitrate, I set to 192, and the backtracking. And that is basically it for OBS. My God. I wonder how I did. Okay, so that's my episode 1 for OBS. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know, and I will definitely show you how to use this thing better, okay? Right now, I'm just trying to give you guys an example of how to use this thing. It looks like I'm recording here an hour, but I'm going to cut it down. So this might be an extended tutorial, but it's a complete one. This is Hands Hardware, episode 1. I hope you guys learned something, and I'm going to do a lot more specific videos in the future. For example, how to use an HDMI input, how to wirelessly transmit video, how to take photos. I'm a great photographer. I'm going to go to Mexico next week. I'm going to take a lot of photos. I'm going to bring my A6500. I'm going to bring 2 flashes, 3 if I can fit it, some lenses, and take photos, okay? I haven't done that in a while, so I'm looking very forward to it. I'm going to bring some ND filters, all that stuff, right? So it's going to be fun. I have a lot of different mics. I'm going to show you guys the difference between expensive mics, cheap mics, and maybe you'll figure out the right level for yourself. I'm going to show you guys how to video fights. My specialty is videoing combat sports, the most hardest videoing out there, okay? So we're going to get to know each other a bit, okay? And here, remember, this is what I ended up doing in the end. A green screen that looks like this, all right? Not too shabby, okay? So if you want your thing to look like this, your green screen, end result look like this, or anything close to this, or better, ask me and I can figure it out with you, okay? But just know that it's not easy, but I've gone through so many different settings and green screen hell that I just know what I'm doing now, okay? And I hope in the future you guys follow, like, and subscribe, because I need at least 50 subscribers to live stream things on this channel. So subscribe and help me get to at least 50, man. Help me get to 50 really quick so I can live stream things that I do while I'm doing them. Oh, also, I'm buying new video cards and I'm building a new PC soon. I'm going to buy a 5000 series NVIDIA video card when it comes out next year. New CPUs, build a beast of a gaming machine. Yeah, I'm talking a lot right here, but this is my episode 1. I want to explain what I'm going to be doing. I do a lot of outdoor stuff. I do car mechanic stuff. I have ATV stuff. I do like outdoors stuff, okay? I do a lot of ice fishing, a lot of real fishing on a boat. I have a boat. I live in a big cottage lake thingy. Yeah, I have a lot of tools. Like when I say Hands Hardware, I don't mean Hands computer hardware only. The reason why I'm saying Hands Hardware is because I'm going to show you everything I got. From chainsaws, to drills, to my sports cars, to my ATVs, to my boats, to my camera gear, to my specialized cooking stuff I have, because I have a lot of that stuff too. Stove, ovens, everything, you know what I mean? I want to do a brain dump on this channel so that anyone that wants to learn this kind of stuff can learn it. And I think I'm a good teacher. I think I'm very knowledgeable with this stuff. I think I'm really good at teaching, and I want to give it a shot. Second, my kids can always reference this channel and learn when I'm not around. And hopefully I'm around for a very long time. But like, if they ever needed questions and I wasn't around, like as in I'm fishing somewhere and I don't want to pick up the phone, you can go to the channel and learn instead of asking me 50 times. But yeah. Anyways, I'm blabbing on too long now. But this was for you to learn OBS, right? So I hope I taught you how to use OBS. And I hope at this point you're like a pro, okay guys? All you got to do now is go on Google and download OBS. Just so you know, this is OBS version 30.2.3. And there's a new big update, which is 31 something. Version 31. And right now it's in beta 3. It's a completely different API. It breaks a lot of stuff. So if you're going to do a lot of plugins and things like that, make sure you're not using that one yet, because not everyone's going to update their stuff to work for it yet. I updated early and it broke a lot of my plugins, which is why I'm telling you this, okay? Anyways, it's Hans from Hans Hardware. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Peace out.